Alright, it's a 2010 Ford Expedition rear caliper and disc brake. I decided to do a video on this because I hadn't seen any other videos on YouTube for the 2010 model, which has a little trick to it that took me a while to figure out, a little searching on some forums to figure out. So I'm going to disassemble it again. As you can see, I've cleaned it all up. I got a new rotor, but I like to keep it clean because to keep these from sticking when they're sliding as it compresses later. So we're going to go ahead and disassemble it now. Alright, I had to go get a new ratchet. The other one was stripped out. So, I'm going to remove it now. There's two 18mm bolts on the back side that you use to get the bracket off. You can either take the bracket off first or take the caliper off first. I prefer to take the bracket off as assembly, as the whole assembly. Alright, now what it took me a while to figure out, or read off the forums, was that there's two rods here. When you have worn pads, you can actually slide the rods out and take the bracket out of the caliper without taking these rods off, which is what I did first. And then when I tried to go back together with the new pads, they're too thick to allow for that. So there's these little caps on the back of these rubber boots. And it's a 7mm, again, Allen wrench to get these little rods out. Once the rods are out, you can just lift the bracket out. Just lift it off like that. You can do that with the bracket on here and pull the caliper out, but like I said, I like to clean up the slides so they don't get gunked up. Now these pads are, each has a side. The smaller bracket that holds it in goes towards the outside, and the larger bracket goes towards the caliper piston. Now when I was taking this off, I had to of course use a sledgehammer to hit around the edge because it was rusted on. The reason I got a new rotor was due to the wear on the old one here. It's got a big lip. So if you have these rods out, this actually goes fairly easy to put it back in. Snap those in. Oh, by the way, the kit I got with the pads came with new rubber boots and new caps. You can see I've put the new ones in already. A little bit of grease and they slide in from this side to seat. Put the bracket back in. This little lip goes between the pads and the caliper. Make sure these are nice and clean. I usually, when I put it back together, I put a little bit of grease around that lip just so they would slide in easily. That was started. You have to push down a little bit in the back to get this other one to start. And it came with these new little caps. That goes in the end of the rubber boots. Then it's just a matter of sliding it back on, putting the 18mm bolts back on, line them up. Now, to clean all this off, I use a combination of things. I use a die grinder with a cleaning head on it, a driver with a wire brush on it, and then inside where those rubber boots sit, sometimes there's some rust that gets in there, so I use a Dremel with a sanding pad or disc to get around inside that and clean it out. So there you have it, all back together. Actually pretty quick once you have it figured out.